Today we're going to start with the first part of the series in our tutorial. It's going to be about Visual Studio history, overview, and future. My name is Rabia Tawil. I am a computer scientist, and I hope you will like the trip with me. Microsoft Visual Studio is like an integrated environment. It's an IDE. Basically, the languages and tools which are present in it are not essentially part of the IDE. The Visual Studio IDE can be taken and you can create your own language and embed it into the IDE. It can be used to develop console application or GUI applications, which is also graphical user interface, along with Windows Forms, websites, web applications, and web services, and both native code together with managed code for all platforms supported. Like, as I know, C# runs on Linux, and it runs on Windows. So, Visual Basic.NET, however, runs only on Windows. It's supported by Microsoft Windows, Windows Mobile, Windows CE, .NET Framework, .NET Compact Framework, and Microsoft Silverlight. Visual Studio includes a code editor, which is basically where you write the code, supporting IntelliSense. IntelliSense is that thing that helps you coding. Like, if you say, well, let's just give an example ahead for those who have an idea. If you say dimx as something, you want to declare a data type, so the IntelliSense can help you figure out what will you need. For example, if you know that there's a data type called integer, then you'll directly write it. But in case you didn't know and you're kind of guessing about it, or you remember the first letter from the word, then IntelliSense helps you a lot. As well as code refactoring means it kind of reads the code while you're writing it and helps you out. And the integrated debugger works both as a source level debugger and a machine level debugger. Other built-in tools include a forms designer for building GUI applications, web designer, class designer, and database schema designer. Basically, the GUI designer is the forms designer, where you design your form, where you place your controls. As for the class designer, it shows you how the class is designed. Where does it start? What's the publics? What's the privates? What class is child to the other class? Which one inherits from the other class? Things like that, for anyone who knows how OOP works. And database schema is basically the database fields, the primary keys, the field names, and etc. Overview. Let's jump to the website, check out what to buy if we're willing to buy Visual Studio. Buy Visual Studio 2008. This is the page for the overview for products for Microsoft Visual Studio. As you can see, Microsoft offers a variety for Visual Studio. Let's go to 2018 system, and we can see the difference between the different packages over here. Practically, the Team Suite includes almost everything for everyone. If you want to know more about what's the difference between each one, what does it include, what does it not include, it's based on what you need. You need database, you need development, you need architecture, designing, you know. It's different for each person. You can buy the 2008 Professional. It's basically almost the same, but It doesn't include everything like the database and other stuff like that. Basically, Visual Studio 2008 Professional can do you good. You don't need the team systems. But I'm gonna show you something that might interest you more, which is the free version of each version of languages in that Microsoft is offering in Visual Studio, which is the Visual Studio Express 2008, which is free and full version. Unless you are needing Visual Studio, you can try it, I think, for 90 days. Otherwise, I advise you to get Visual Studio Express, which is free, and it includes almost everything, but it's not corporate. Visual Studio Express Edition, oh yeah, Visual Studio 2008 Professional Edition is free for 3-month trial, which is really generous from Microsoft. It has the SP1 too. Anyway, Visual Studio Express, you can choose the language you want. It supports many different languages: English, Chinese, French, German, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Russian, and Spanish, which is pretty cool. You can get the offline installer instead, in case you want to install it on different PCs at home, or you can get the Visual Studio 2010 Beta 2 release, which is available right now, and beta test it while you can use it. I think it's pretty stable, and it can be used to make new projects. So this is free. Visual Express is free, which is very nice from Microsoft. This is the installation procedure. This is the welcome screen. You press next, then you have to select which languages exactly you need. If you already this is the custom installation. If you already selected the full installation, then you will not arrive to this page. You just press install, and actually the Visual Studio installation takes a little while. These are just print screens I collected and put on a slideshow. So it will take up to 50 minutes to 1 hour, depending on the computer performance. This is how the Visual Studio will look from inside when you have coding, and we'll get to the other details later. Thank you. Thank you for watching, and I think that's it for today. I hope you liked our first tutorial, and I hope you will subscribe to the channel and keep track of the tutorial, and thank you. Visual Studio has started in '97. It has several versions throughout the history till now. I'm just gonna summarize as fast as I can because Visual Studio has a great history, a huge one that cannot be summarized in 10-minute video tutorial. But Visual Studio was released in 1997. It was a new building tool for building programs basically. It was the first tool that Microsoft released. It had two editions, Professional Edition and Enterprise Edition. It had VB 5.0, J++ 1.1, which was the first version for J++, and J++ basically uses JVM, Java Virtual Machine, to run. It was directly used by Microsoft to direct the JVM, which kind of upset Java, but we'll see later what happened. And it has Visual Fox Pro 5.0, which derived from IBM. Visual Studio 6 was released first in 1998, and it was to run for programs for Windows 9X, 95, 98, etc. And it was a huge hit for Microsoft, and it was the basis for encouraging Microsoft to release newer versions, which is the .NET. Visual J++ 6.0, which was basically stopped and removed later in .NET because of an agreement between Microsoft and Java. Visual Studio .NET 2002, codename Rainer. As of Visual Studio 2002, the Microsoft team codenamed the Visual Studio. It was released in 2002. It was using the .NET framework, which is basically kind of a framework that can bridge between different languages. For example, you can write a program in C# and still use it from VB.NET, and you can write a program in J# and inherit it and use it in C++, let's say, for example. It had J#, C++, C#, VB.NET, and ASP.NET. J#, it was different than J++ because it didn't use JVM no longer. As for Visual Fox Pro, which was upgraded to version 7, in the beginning they were trying to include it in Visual Studio 2002, but they decided at the last second not to include it in the release, although it was included in the beta and was tested. So, and it was given its own production path alone and development path alone. Visual Studio 2003, codename Everett. It had minor changes, support for mobile devices, and it had 4 versions: Academic, Pro, Enterprise Development, and Enterprise Architect. Visual Studio 2005, which is codenamed WebD 2005, released. It targeted .NET 2.0, and it was the successor. It had a successor for VBA, which is VSA. It had more ASP.NET project types. It had new WBF, WCF, WF, and LINQ included in it. Visual Studio 2008 was a major hit. It's codename Orcas. It was released in 2007. It's developed basically Visual Studio 2008 was a major hit for Microsoft, and it started encouraging people who are using different tools to come and try the tools that Microsoft is providing. J# was not included. It had new HTML and CSS editors. It has debugger, better debugger, easier debugger, for a multi-threaded application. It has support for PNG icons in the resources, which was pretty cool for the new Vista look. Visual Studio 2010, codenamed Hawaii. It's still under development. Currently, today, it's as I'm recording this video, it's in the beta 2 right now. It was redesigned. The whole user interface is new, using WBF, and it started getting .NET 4.0. It supports. It will support, because we can't figure out Microsoft. They changed everything last second. It will support IBM DB2 and Oracle, and of course SQL Server, the beloved Microsoft database